This may be one of the most crucial videos of mine that you will ever watch, because second citizenship, as we know it, may be dead in a matter of months, and your ability to plan an escape route may look a lot different if you continue to wait. I'm going to talk about all the latest updates right now. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. This is Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. And as I said, this is going to be an extremely important episode. I'm going to go through the latest news because, in my opinion, when I wake up every day and I read the latest news in our industry, I believe that the options are closing. Now, I've been telling you since the early days of Nomad Capitalist, going way back to 2012, every year certain programs go away. And even before that, citizenship programs, residence programs, prices go up, things become more complicated. Look at the situation in the world right now. People want options. People that we've been talking to, like Americans and Canadians and Australians, who thought citizenship by investment was a waste of money en masse up until a couple of years ago, now see the need for protecting themselves. You've always had people in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, in China, increasingly in Africa, is more high net worth people there. There is more competition, there is more need, there are more problems happening around the world where people want options. And so not only on a supply and demand issue, but on the issue of there's a war in Ukraine and look at how the governments are responding. Now, let me be clear. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. I talked about the situation in Ukraine in a very raw and emotional way. I talked about what I'm doing. I've opened up my homes. I've opened up our wallet to support the cause. It's about people. But we can support the people. We can say what's happening is a tragedy and it shouldn't be happening. We can also say that, yeah, some people should suffer some consequences. Should it be cats? Should cats from Russia be banned from participating in the cat show? I mean, some of this stuff, you like to see the solidarity. You also say to yourself, this is becoming a little bit much. Here's the latest news from our industry. Malta making a U-turn. No Russians or Belarusians will be allowed to apply for the citizenship program. Malta has an 18-month citizenship program. It is the creme de la creme of passports for folks who want the best. 18 months, roughly $1 million all in for a single applicant in donations, fees, legal fees, out the door. Russians and Belarusians out. Now, the reason isn't, hey, we stand with Ukraine. The reason is we can't do proper due diligence on them. And so certainly there is some truth to that. But the question, it begs the question, in this environment where you had the UK before the situation started, the UK said, we think something's coming, we're canceling the investor visa, we don't want Russians to come, they're going down a dark path. Fine, fair enough. They were 17-18% of the whole pie. And so everyone else got thrown out. In that kind of environment where everyone is losing their options, what Malta is saying, and by the way, I love Malta. I love the Maltese people. But you could theoretically apply the issue of, hey, can't do due diligence. You could apply that to more folks. Now, if you're in an emerging country, that could definitely be the case, and you already have enhanced due diligence for a number of folks. You've already seen a number of Caribbean countries announce they're going to roll out enhanced due diligence for Russians. You're going to see that. And so if you're applying for citizenship there, it's going to be an extra layer of due diligence. Would that apply to, for example, a U.S. citizen? Perhaps not. But if the argument is, hey, we're having troubles with due diligence, why not say, hey, listen, due to the pandemic, hard to get documents from the U.S., hey, let's just not do this anymore. I believe that you're going to see, with all the push from the European Parliament and all the European busybody bureaucrats, this may be the final death knell for a program like Malta. Why does that matter? It matters that if you're a U.S. citizen and you want to get a top-tier passport that replaces your U.S. passport, should you wish to cut your ties with the U.S. forever, Malta's your only option unless you have ancestry. Ancestry is never guaranteed, or unless you want to move somewhere. They're also trying to cut off golden visas. So your options, starting with the most straightforward one, if you're an ultra high net worth individual, or even a high net worth individual, you want to go to Malta, you want to get that passport that replaces the current one that you have, you want to have a bit more agnostic passport with the same great travel, the ability to live anywhere you want in Europe. You've got, more than 25 different countries you can live in, you can work in, tax advantages in many of those countries, you can go wherever you want. I think that eventually they're gonna put the screws to that, and they're gonna accomplish their final goal of shutting that program down. I hope that I'm wrong, but I can tell you this, they've been petitioning against it for a long time. They never had the argument to use against it, right? Look at the last 20, 25 years. You've had so many different events, 9/11, the shoe bomber, all the way to the pandemic. Now, I'm not saying these things didn't really happen, but what I'm saying is, again, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Unfortunate things happen. Tragedies happen. The government, as we've seen in the last couple of years, was not on your side. They're not there to help you. People are calling their embassies right now in Ukraine. They get a busy signal. Even people from small countries where you think they have 10 people in the whole country, their country isn't helping. During the pandemic, people's countries didn't help, with a few exceptions. Japan, I heard from someone, Mexico was helpful. By and large, you're on your own. They're saving their own hides. And so, do you really believe they're using these tragedies to actually make improvements, or are they using them to push the narrative they've always wanted to push? They don't like you to have options. They don't like what we talk about. Malta, citizenship program, if they can use this as the reason to cut that off and to cut Malta off, a sovereign country, from raising over €1 billion to support a small economy and develop themselves without using, they'll do that. They'd like to shut down the program in Bulgaria as well. They already got rid of Cyprus. Golden visas. This is where you get a residence permit in exchange for an investment to live in Europe. Portugal. There's a little bit of back and forth, but by and large, Russians not welcome. Greece. Russians not welcome. We're going to cancel. We're going to suspend. We're going to no longer approve. Interesting question, by the way. What if you're a Russian American? What if you're a Russian Canadian? We've worked with a number of Russian and Ukrainian Americans, Canadians, Australians. They are as much American or whatever else as anyone else. In some cases, I talked to a gentleman socially recently who was born in Iran. He left when he was 1 year old. He has, for the rest of his life, place of birth Iran, because years ago the U.S. pushed, and St. Kitts and Nevis got dragged into this, where some countries weren't listing where you were born. They want to discriminate against you for where you're born. And I want to know how far they're going to take that. I have 3 sisters who were born in Russia. They moved to the U.S. as children. Are they going to be discriminated? Now, I happen to think that if you're Russian American, you've got a better chance than Russian something else, because you're in the good team. Whereas if you're Russian, Russian Colombian, for example, it's like, that's not good enough. So there may be some discrimination that's a little bit less if you're a Western citizen. But how far are they going to take this when they're banning cats from participating in a cat show? I mean, that was the latest news. So Malta, creme de la creme citizenship, really the European Union's only, they don't call it citizenship by investment, but they call it an exceptional program. It takes about 18 months. Let's see what happens. I think they're going to use this as fuel. Golden visas starting to shut down. Listen, they could certainly use this as an excuse to delay. Sometimes they don't cancel programs. Sometimes it's just death by 1,000 cuts. It's death by bureaucracy. It's death by you make the investment and then, oh my goodness, we got a 2-year wait. That could happen. Some Caribbean countries starting to push back. They're not necessarily talking about it, but in a de facto sense, hey, we're not taking Russians. They're talking about it, secondary due diligence for more Russians, which theoretically should be fine. Now, some countries could push back on this. If you're the U.S., if you're a U.S. citizen, I mean, you've seen where your country's gotten into fights with people before, and they said, hey, you can't come here. Now, is that going to be all of your options? Absolutely not. But I think that what we're going to see by and large is, certainly if you're Russian or Belarusian, your options are drastically cut down. Can you go to places like Thailand? Are those options going away? Yeah, probably those are going to stay in place. Obviously, getting money out would be an issue. This is not necessarily a video for Russians. This is a video for everyone else who's going to suffer as a result. Are you going to have some places to go? It may not be in Europe. I do think some of the bigger golden visa programs could be at risk. I'm not saying they're going to go away, but I'm saying it could be more difficult. They may require residence requirements. And so for all the Westerners who said, I don't trust my country, I want a plan B, I want the best I can get, I want something that gives my children a future in Europe, but I can't move right now, that could be off the table for new applicants. If you're grandfathered in, then I would probably suggest that you're okay. Even though I think some of these countries are unclear whether they're going to go through and cancel Russians. And again, I ask, is it anyone who's Russian, or is it you're Russian, but then you immigrated somewhere else at an early age? And so the bottom line is they want to, in addition to forget what's happening in Ukraine, look at what happened in Canada. They want to freeze your assets when they don't like you. They want to send the police to your door when they don't like what you post on social media. You know what? If they do that in Eastern Europe, that's wrong too. It's also wrong when they do it in Canada. It's not whataboutism. I think there's a lot of whataboutisms going on right now that just aren't correct. But you're already in the Western world facing, you can't come back to your country. Your freedom of speech has been drastically reduced. They can freeze your bank accounts. They've always been able to do that, by the way. In the U.S., they've had things like civil asset forfeiture. So you need diversification. No doubt, not just residence and citizenship, that is one of the main things that has come out in some of the policy papers, in some of the sanctions papers that are coming out of Europe and the West. They would like to shut it down. If that means that Europe has to go and sit on some of the countries in the Caribbean to try and get some concessions out of them, I wouldn't put that past them. Look at what happened in Vanuatu recently. No more visa-free travel. Now, I happen to think that visa-free travel to Europe isn't the end-all be-all. It's a nice thing to have. If you can get that with the Caribbean citizenship, I'm all for it. But they want to cut you off. That's the bottom line. This is what they've been waiting for. And by the way, as someone who actually has been helping and who has helped not just with this, but with past issues in the world, I find it pretty offensive, quite frankly, that we take people's tragedies and we take the response beyond solving the problem and into affecting people's options. I have Ukrainian clients. We have Russian clients. Some of them, as I said, had moved to the US, Canada, etc. But they are, for the most part, not living in those countries now, and they're happy that they can support their families from far away. They're happy that they can do things and have a level head and not have to be reacting from a position of immediacy or from a position of survival. They can provide help from a distance. They can bring people to them. They have other residences. They have other passports. They've got a place to go. The government doesn't want you to have a place to go. They want you to rely on them. And then, oh, by the way, we made a promise to defend you back in the 90s. If you agree to this, you know what? Forget it. We're not honoring our promises. The government doesn't honor their promises. You've seen that in the last 2 years. They're going to claim, don't worry, you don't need to be a St. Kitts citizen. Stay here, we'll take care of you. They're going to raise your taxes through the roof to pay for the last couple of years. They're going to cut your options off. They're going to use what's happening right now in the world to keep you in one place, and then they have total control over you. They're going to say, don't worry, you don't need this citizenship. You need second citizenship more than ever. You can go to nomadcapitalist.com if you'd like us to help you. We've made the process of getting started a little bit faster, a little bit easier recently because we want to help as many people as possible. But no matter what you do, you need to have your second citizenship now. If you've been watching me for years and saying, oh, that sounds nice, one day things are competitive. Listen, this is only going to become more difficult. I have been telling you this, but now I'm telling you more clearly there is an immediate threat. Some of it will come to pass and some of it may not, but I know I've invested in numerous residence and citizenship programs over the year. I've had some that I've gotten for free as well, but I feel more comfortable knowing in different parts of the world, I have a place to go where they have to let me in, where I have homes, where I have residence, where I have bank accounts. You want to cut me off over here? This part of the world closes, this part of the world isn't working. I have places to go. I want you to have the same, but you're not going to have the same opportunities if you keep waiting by the sidelines, especially in the Caribbean, especially in Europe. Anything Western, now is the time to do this. We've already seen what the UK is doing. The EU has made their intentions clear on what they want to see happening. Get your residences and citizenships. I'm happy to help you or do whatever else you want, but now needs to be the time to have a plan. Don't stop now. We've got well over 1,000 more videos here on YouTube for you to watch and learn how to go where you're treated best. And if you want to work with Nomad Capitalist personally, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, learn about our unique, tried and true process, garnered over years of experience, and learn how you can become our client.